So I wanted to make this video to help you understand what is the best scanner for a T1N Sprinter. Before we get started, I want to clear a few things and some descriptions so you can better understand the rest of the video. So let's start off with, what is a T1N Sprinter? T1N Sprinter was made in Europe by Mercedes-Benz, and through something called the chicken tax, it was rebranded as Dodge and Freightliner in the United States. Not one single part, not even the badge on those Dodges and Freightliners were made by Dodge, by Chrysler or Freightliner. They were 100% made by Mercedes-Benz. Every single part, even down to the label, reassembled in the United States and badged that way. So I think starting that off will help you a lot, not only with scanners, but with a lot of other confusing aspects of owning a Sprinter. So once we get that out of the way, that's going to also help you understand why a lot of people run into trouble with scanners, because they always try to find software for Dodge, for Freightliner, but the reality is that what you're driving is a Mercedes-Benz 100%. Doesn't matter where you own the Sprinter. It could be in Europe, it could be South America, it could be America, Africa. You are driving a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. Once we get that out of the way, now the other thing is, not all scanners are equal, or more so, not all coding or data or language is the same. I will include a link for more details, but basically what it comes down to, between 2001 and 2008, there were a lot of changes to the coding that was used for scanners, and eventually it became standardized. Think of it as now how we are now using USB-C cables as a standard cable across all phones, regardless of whether they're iPhone or Android. During that time, 2001, 2008, there was a lot of changes, a lot of different code. So what happens is, if you use an OBDII generic scanner and you use it on your Sprinter, it's like trying to run a Mac program on a Windows, or a Windows on a Mac. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be able to communicate well. It's going to give you basically false codes. It's going to report sensors that are not even available on the Sprinter. So really, 100% do not use a generic OBD scanner. It's going to confuse you more. It's going to throw off your diagnostics. It's going to make everything more frustrated. You need a Mercedes-Benz capable scanner that is able to communicate with your Sprinter well. It's been a struggle. I recommend watching the Florida Vanman video, where he's sitting with 5-6 different scanners and explaining some of the differences. Early on, he seemed to have a lot of struggle with finding a scanner that works. That's no longer the case. We have a lot of good options now, right? Initially, one of the best options was the Ap200. Here's the thing. The Ap200 doesn't work well for everyone, especially if you have an iPhone. There seems to be an issue with the way that the Bluetooth dongle communicates with the iPhone, where it just drops, right? It just drops and doesn't communicate. So not only are you dealing with multiple steps to set up the scanner, but then you're dealing with having to link up the Bluetooth dongle to your phone, which doesn't seem to work well on the newer iPhones. It seems to be more stable on Android. Additionally, with Ap200, you are tied in to having your phone on a network. That might be great for those of you who use the van just in your surrounding areas, maybe mostly for business, you're a tradesman, you're working on the van at home and whatnot. if you are a traveler, if you are a van lifer, you are dependent on having internet connection. You as a traveler know, especially if you're in far out places, that you're not going to have stable connection, or you're not going to have fast connection. With the Ap200, sometimes if you don't have good connection, even if you think you have some 1 or 2 and you're on 4G, it's not going to work, right? It's going to give you a network error. So my frustration with that is that now you're dealing with Bluetooth connectivity issues, and then you're dealing with being dependent on network connection. Additionally, with that Ap200, you get 1 free software subscription, which is basically the Mercedes-Benz package that you need in order to read, and it's tied into that. So other than being able to use the scanner as a very generic OBDII scanner for any other card, you're tied into Mercedes-Benz unless you buy additional packages. Yes, is the most inexpensive solution, but then again, Bluetooth issues, being tied to the network, and then now there seems to be a lot of issues with even just people that had good connectivity and everything, but that it's not connecting well to the Autel network. So there's just too many variables for me to feel confident recommending that scanner, especially for a traveler, because the last thing you want is to be stuck in the middle of nowhere and spending 45 minutes syncing the Bluetooth, trying to get connection, other stuff, when you just want to get into diagnosing your spinner and getting it out of the way. So that's going to be your cheapest option. And then Autel just in general seems to work really well with sprinters through all their lines, right? Then you have the Icarsoft, which is a good reader. It's inexpensive as well. It's somewhere in the $100 range. The issue with the Icarsoft is that even though it does read the codes properly, it doesn't have the code descriptions. So you're still going to have to use a code description, and you're going to have to use a sprinter specific code description. There's a book out in a PDF format that has those descriptions. You do not want to use the sort of the standardized OBD's descriptions, because they're not going to be correct. So then again, you're looking at a screen, looking at the code, reading up the code, and that just seems inefficient for me, especially when you're on the side of the road, right? So now I wanted to talk about what I think is the best next option all around, right? Based on value, based on capabilities, on being stable, on speed, right? And that is the Autel 808 Pro. And I'm going to put a link at the bottom of the video, so you can go ahead and click it. Really appreciate if you use that link. Gives me a little bit of a kickback on Amazon. It helps me support this video. Autel 808 comes in this case. It's about $260. And what you get is you get a standalone scanner with a wire connection. So that takes the whole Bluetooth issue out of it, number one. Two, it takes the whole network issue, because now your phone, you're not dependent on your phone connecting to the network. This is standalone. This does not require internet connection, does not require Bluetooth. And then additionally, because it is hardwired, right, it's going to connect and function easier on your Sprinter. You're going to be able to read erase codes with it. You're going to be able to do a full scan. You're going to be able to access individual modules. Say you wanted to access the TCM and whatnot, you'll be able to go ahead and access it right away. Now there's different levels of Autel. This is the 808. It also has some service functions, such as resetting the SRS light, which some of the lower tier scanners won't be able to do. Servicing your ABS bump. The one thing is, it's not going to be able to program, right? So this is another confusion. A lot of times people think that every scanner is going to say program injectors. It's going to be able to test different sensors. And that's what you would call a bidirectional scanner, meaning it communicates both ways. In addition to clearing codes, you're able to send commands to say, turn on the AC, turn on the locks, stuff like that. Farther into it, clearing transmission history, changing variants, such as changing your wheel stuff and stuff like that. Now you're looking at a scanner such as a shop scanner, and that's going to be a Sentry. You're looking at thousands of dollars there, or you're looking at a huge contraption with an old school setup. That's a different conversation. Watch the Florida Vanman video on Sentries. So this is what I think it's going to be the best scanner for the Sprinter. Comes in this nice little case. Side note too, if you have other vehicles, it works really well. I have an Acura RDX. It even has access to what's called Honda data, which is specific to Honda. And it really lets me access everything without paying any additional subscription for any packages or anything like that. If you're looking for even a scanner that does more and more, such as coding injectors and stuff like that, then you want to go into the Autel 900 series. I'm going to put some links on that as well. But generally speaking, I think this is for the value, for connectivity, speed. I think this is going to be the best option for the Sprinter DIY, right? Highly recommend this. Avoid the frustration with the Ap200. Avoid having to worry about your Wi-Fi, about network, Bluetooth connectivity, about whether the Autel server is down. Another thing that happens too, and you know, we know this just from support of vehicles, eventually, especially when it comes to technology, right, companies stop supporting software. I don't know if that's the case with the Ap200 right now, but eventually they're just gonna stop supporting it. So if the Bluetooth Ap200 cannot connect to the Autel network, then that's it. It's no longer usable, right? So keep that in mind. With this, you never have to worry about that. Yes, you can update it, right? Especially if you have newer vehicles. There's really not going to be any updates for the Sprinter. It's been out for so long already, so there's not going to be any updates. But if you wish to update it, maybe you have a more modern vehicle, you can get the upgraded packages firmware for free simply by plugging it in with the USB cable into your computer, downloading the package and updating the firmware. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. The scanner is going to work right away out of the box. And if you've been frustrated with the Ap200, you're going to find out how refreshing it is just to be able to plug in, do what you got to do, and not worry about it. So highly recommend you use the 808 Pro. I'll put the links at the bottom. Appreciate if you can use those links. It'll really help me out. If you want to dive into scanners more, go ahead and check out all the Florida Vanman videos on scanners. Keep in mind that those were done, some of them were done a little bit a while back ago when there were no other options, and when the Ap200 seemed to be working better, it seems like now a lot of people are having trouble with signing on to the Autel network in order to download stuff and get it working. I will say that other sort of last benefit is that obviously this is not tied into your phone. So if you ever sell the Sprinter or you don't want to use this, you can always gift it to the next person without having to worry about being tied into your phone. Because with the Autel Ap200, you're going to be using your email, so that Ap200 is only going to work for your phone with the email login, and you won't be able to change that unless you send an email to Autel and they basically transferring ownership for lack of words. So hope you give this a try. Avoid frustration. This is one of the best tools, and I think honestly this is something I've always said is no T1N owner should drive out around the block without having a scanner on them, because as we know, T1Ns like to go into limp mode very easily, and this could save you a huge tow bill. It could save you a lot of frustration. It could allow you to get back home. It could allow you to get to your mechanic. And even if you're not a DIYer, I think it's so important to understand what's going on with your van. It also protects you so that if you do go to a mechanic, you can corroborate that what they're telling you to what you're getting on the scanner.